Now we're live. I'm going to call a meeting to order. It is now, what time is it? 7:33. Call meeting 1442 to order. I would like to welcome the gallery and online viewers this evening. In front of you, I have agenda meeting from meeting number 1442. Are there any additions to the agenda? Hearing none, we shall move on. Minutes from regular meeting number 1441 held on September 21st are in front of you. We need, any errors or omissions noted?
Mayor, I think we spoke about last time. I know the town clerk, Lori's not here, but I think there was a rec report that was omitted from the previous meeting that was not approved in the last meeting.
Okay.
And I don't see it in this agenda either, so I just want to make note of that there. When we get a chance, I believe it would have been from 3 meetings ago now,
Okay.
that were not in the approved minutes. So.
Good point, Councillor Langen. Thank you. Any more errors or omissions noted, or any more comments? Hearing none, can I get a mover? Moved by Councillor Langen, seconded by Councillor Hancock. Call for a question. Hearing none, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Business arising from the minutes. Is there any business arising from the minutes?
I have 2 items there, Mayor. Item number 1 there, I'm just wondering if the parking lot in the recreation complex there, I know there's been some issues surrounding parking there right now because of the annex development and the lay down yard and stuff there. So I know I spoke with Glenn there today, our rec director, and he's certainly looking to ensure that we can expand the parking as much as we can as soon as that's possible, and as well the area in the back. I know there were some concerns noted coming down the back with issues with I guess erosion from rain or whatever, so if we can get that looked into. And as well, item number 2 is there was just want to commend the class of 7-1 from Xavier Junior High for sending us a letter today advocating on behalf of their classmates for an outdoor classroom. We will certainly pass it on to the committee, and like I said, we certainly appreciate you guys reaching out to the community for that.
All right, thank you. Everyone can note that it was sent out by email, and again, you'll note some of the names on there from their recently elected student union, so I'd like to thank them for that, for stepping up at such a young age. It took me nearly 30 years to get the courage, so hats off to those. Moving on to new business. Does anyone have any new business to add? All right, I have a couple just want to bring up for operations. One's Mayor Avenue stop sign. Needs to be raised up. It was taken down, I think, during the windstorm. It's been noted by a couple residents and myself. There's a standard height for that. It has the bottom of the sign has to be 7 feet to be up to standards. So Maxine, if we can get a note for Public Works to replace that. And there's also another one by Crosses Lane intersection coming on to George Aaron Drive area. That one was also knocked down. And I appreciate that they got them back up right away, but they need to be up to code and standard, right? So, anybody else have any new business?
I just brought up in camera, with the new access road behind the stadium, we lost 2 parking spots. So just kind of opened it for discussion on, could we maybe add 1 parking spot across the street, or if there was an opportunity for a business owner to have access to a parking spot to say, like, for drop-off only or something to kind of, so I just going to send that back to Public Works to see if we could do anything in that area.
Okay, sounds good. And, we got to appreciate, I guess we're all hearing from parents and spectators of any sport within the Hodder complex, but there will be growing pains with the construction of the annex, obviously, and parking, but we're here and everybody, and we're here to work with the contractor, and hopefully we can find a solution. Before we move on, I do have something for new business, and this is probably going to be a little bit of a hot topic. Usually is in most places when you talk about intersections. Familiar one in the province is Rawlings Cross in St. John's, I do believe. They've changed it, they went back, they've changed it, they've rescinded it, So, point and note, I'd like to make a motion to rescind our decision to reconfigure George Aaron Drive. personally live in the area as of late, and I don't know if we've done enough study to see where the traffic flow is going to hold up, but looking at my front window, I can see 8 to 10 vehicles coming off the bridge in that timeline from the lights turning whichever, and if, I don't know if we've studied enough, if you do put a stop sign on the right, you're going to have a backlog that'll come back as far as Crosses Lane and the intersection where the resident on the right side going towards 400 could possibly impede their driveway as well. So it's up for discussion, but I will make a motion first and I'll call for a seconder. Do I have a seconder?
Okay, I'll second for discussion, I guess. I'll second.
Okay, just for record, moved, seconded by Councillor Jones, and now we shall call for a question.
So the motion that you asked, I guess, is to, I guess the Public Works, they got to rescind their motion to do further investigation as per request, I guess, I'm thinking.
Yeah, and you know, Councillor Jones is a good point. Some people sit around and say, here, we're playing politics because you're getting weighted by residents of concern. Some like it, some don't. I'm not one to sit here and say that revision is weakness, because it's not. But I've looked at that quite often, and again, living in that specific area, staring at that intersection daily, I think there's some points that we might have missed before we do make a change. And until this time that we did go to make a change, I haven't really seen anything wrong with it. So therefore, that's why I'm making a motion to rescind, to bring it back with further clarification.
So are you simply asking for Public Works to reevaluate? Like to remove the actual construction site and reevaluate?
To hold
Like
off,
sort of
yeah,
stop what they're
before you-
doing?
Right?
And reevaluate, meaning it could still happen in the future, but it needs to be a reevaluation?
You can ask council to make a motion, or you can step down and let someone else take the chair for a minute.
Oh, yeah.
Again, procedure-wise, I thought I had this right prior, but as the chair, I can't make that motion. So I would have to step away, sit in my old chair, correct?
Or you could point Melanie to step in your, sit in your chair for a minute.
Yeah, if you would, Melanie. I guess she would call for a motion, I would make that motion, and then we'd ask for a seconder, correct? Thank you, Maxine. We can actually do it physically from our own chairs. Okay. And I don't mind any online viewers seeing what is going on, but I just want to make sure we're doing something right and not fixing something that's broken.
Yeah.
So if you would call for a motion to rescind, right? I'll ask the chair, I'm going to make a motion to rescind my vote on changing the intersection. So you have a mover.
And I'll second it.
What's that?
You have a mover and a seconder. So now you got to
So-
call for questions, sorry.
Any questions?
Yeah, so I think my question, Mayor, or sorry, who's
The chair would be the deputy, sorry.
okay, sorry, Deputy Mayor, well, yeah, sorry, whoever, that we can, I know that discussion was had after the fact, obviously noting some of the concerns that were had by residents that were both verbal and written. And I believe, I know it wasn't tabled back to public meeting yet, but I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, your Chair of Public Works, Darren, that we spoke about some changes that would have been seen to be in line with some of the concerns that residents were bringing forth.
Yeah, we have looked at this, we've investigated this, we've looked at our manuals, our tax standards and everything of that nature. And we do believe that the intersection is an issue. It was brought to this council as an issue as soon as we were elected last term, of actions that are happening brought to us by our enforcement officer. That's the reason why this intersection became a hot topic all of a sudden and led us to the change back in November of last year. Obviously, it was part of the point that we couldn't make any changes to the actual intersection at that time of year, which led us to hold off for a full season. This year, we went and we brought it back just to let everyone know that we were going to make this attempt. Obviously, we've done our homework on this, and we were trying to keep to the point of just normal traffic standards throughout I guess, North America, if you want to call it, and why we decided to make this move. In turn, we have still discussed this in as just not at committee level, more or less as an aside to this intersection. And obviously, we're still open to changing other things. This intersection, it's designed wrong. It's not hard to see that it is completely too wide. It doesn't come to a proper T, as mentioned earlier. However, based on the traffic patterns on this area, we do have a T intersection. So we were still looking at furthering this change. However, once again, we are at a time of year where we can't paint on the road anymore. It's too late. This is more or less going to have to be deferred again till next year, based on the part that we're way behind the 8 ball here when it comes to putting paint on the road. Our weather patterns just want to necessitate or allow us to complete this design. So, in an all honest, Mayor, Chair, good. We're not going to do nothing on this year. I think it's safe to say that, Jason, when we talk about this, Dave Thomas is not here tonight, but we will have a reprieve over the winter to evaluate this again. However, I do believe what we did present to the public and to council was the proper move. It's just the intersection itself is just, it's wrong. And we're trying to fix the problems from before. And I know we do have residents that are worried that we'll create new problems. But I do believe we will be looking at a revised change for this intersection over the winter. So I don't know if that helps anyone.
I just wonder if there's, Mayor Guzny, you brought up the rescinding motion. I'm just wondering, is there a way, given that the construction is going to be delayed anyway, to evaluate the concerns you have, or do you think there's just no way for this intersection to work?
Actually, I've done enough evaluation personally, and again, I'm not a traffic engineer. There's none of us sitting around the table are actually traffic engineers, but sitting there, as a tradesperson, again, just looking at the scenarios and whatnot, and it's right out my front window, and just watching the flow of traffic, which goes east, which goes west further, what's not. I don't want to create something, I don't want to make something, turn something that wasn't broken to be broken. So there is a motion to the floor to rescind, and it can be turned down. That's fair, and that's the blessing of this democratic process. And anytime anyone has a choice or a thought that they didn't, that's why we follow Robinson rules. Thank you, Maxine, for clarifying that I had to remove myself from this chair. And that's the reason why we sit here. So again, this is not to disregard any decisions from a committee standpoint. This is just one person sitting around a seat or a table that has an opinion that I'd like to bring forward. And with the seconder and a mover, I guess we would have to put it to a vote, but that would be up to the chair to call after discussion.
I mean, you talked about how this was evaluated, and then when the public started giving some of their concerns, some of that got reevaluated, which led to some further changes. Is it the further change, such as the coming to a T, not allowing the yield to occur, which sort of allows that sort of flow, causing the concern that you're speaking about? Mm. And so then I wonder if, I guess, was that a consideration when that reevaluation occurred? Was the bridge
It was
traffic?
always a consideration. Obviously, we were brought into our concerns that the yield should not exist at the length or of that right turn coming from George Aaron Drive. It should be shortened to the actual T of the intersection. There was discussion to moving forward with this file to completely remove that right-hand turn from George Aaron Drive coming from the bridge, continuing on to George Aaron Drive, to bring that to a complete stop coming from the bridge, which would allow the direct access from George Aaron to Goose Arm, from the highway, I should say, and that as the direct flow of traffic. So we would be stopping all traffic coming from the bridge however, to the T. Once again, that yet has been brought to actual committee level. It's just a discussion that was as an aside, so.
Do you mean the T piece has not been brought to committee?
No, the addition, the part of removing the yield
Yield.
completely.
So that wasn't a part of the
It's not-
proposed
it
to
wasn't in our
public?
committee meetings, no.
Okay. So then I wonder if what you're rescinding would even matter if that hasn't even come to committee yet. Because the whole big thing is the yield being removed.
But I'd still be to the point that what we had presented would provide, the committee's view is that is a safer configuration as presented to council earlier. So, and I guess that's what the mayor is rescinding.
I just, okay.
Actual motion and reading,
To modify the intersection.
the actual motion, you want to rescind Public Works put ahead.
The original motion.
Modify
The original?
intersection.
Yes.
Original.
Yep. Sorry, I'm not
It's a tough one for me just because I'm not understanding how the original motion, which didn't remove the yield, right?
The original, it does remove the yield, it brings the yield to a stop sign.
Oh, okay. Now you just want to do the T. I got you.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
And then removes the stop sign adjacent from it.
But it removes
Okay.
the stop sign coming from Goose Arm Road.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess my question as well, are we looking to, if we rescind this motion, are we, is it adequate that we can say that those changes will be reviewed and we can bring it back, as Councillor Fitzgerald stated, in the spring? Because, as Councillor Fitzgerald said, I think even with the changes that were seen to have some opposition, was a better alternative than what currently exists. And I feel, noting those concerns, that we felt that we had even a better solution to that. Is that fair, Councillor Fitzgerald?
Yeah, I think so. Councillor Langen?
When you were completing that reevaluation, did the traffic from the bridge present any challenge to you? Like, was that something that you thought of, or was that a concern?
You'd
In
have
what,
to have sorry, did you want to go?
I was just asking in
Yeah.
what context?
Meaning, like, in the context of what the rescind is based on, about traffic building up to Cross's Lane from the bridge.
That was part of our initial study. And
That was?
recommendation from our enforcement officer and public works superintendent.
Okay.
And I guess that's, Councillor Fitzgerald is the chair of Public Works, which I sat and I really appreciate because it's a big file. I haven't seen actual quantified data or data to show me what the MEO is saying, but living there, I'm pretty much getting the data myself, so I'm questioning that, and that's my whole intent and reason to rescind. Does that mean we don't go back and look at another recommendation, as Councillor Langdon had spoken about, somewhat of a small type of what do they call it? Not a roundabout, but like a semi-traffic circle / to keep flow
Yeah,
moving?
that certainly wasn't, obviously that would require a substantial cost there for sure. That certainly wasn't the one that we spoke about.
No, and
in
possibly
the
not.
term. Yeah,
Just
but potentially, sure, in the future, that could be an option.
But other options, totally, and I like it, because, again, back to my very first comment, it's so funny because, I shouldn't say funny, because it does come to public safety. You see St. John's, they've got a board, they've got engineers, bigger than our whole staff, and they're constantly revising, going back and forth in certain sections that have been there for centuries, right? So, again, this is not a ploy to say, hey, someone's right or wrong. This is just my thoughts, 2 cents worth. So that's why I'm going to use my, right to call to rescind.
Yeah, for me, I'm just trying to understand the entire issue before if I have to cast a vote here.
Yeah, and for
just
sure, and I
trying-
think a large part, and Chair Fitzgerald can comment to that as well. I think due diligence was done both with himself. I think we can certainly appreciate his background there and the input he provided, as well as from our Public Works Superintendent Dave Thomas and Keith Park, our MEO. And I also note as well, with some of the opposition, there was certainly some praise as well, and given that the decision was the right one from residents in the area. So, not that we need that type of justification, just to ensure that it's the safest option in the best interest of the residents in the area. So, it's a decision that we can make here now for sure.
Yeah, so I guess at this point, not to put you on the spot, Madam Chair, but I guess we would call for a vote, right? You have a mover, seconder.
Any other questions? No? Okay, I guess we'll bring it to a vote.
All right, so those in favor.
So all those in favor?
Against?
All those against?
All right, we'll stick with the original plan. So therefore, I can take back the chair, correct, Maxine?
Yes.
All right, thank you, folks. Great debate. Any other new business? Hearing none, we shall move on to correspondence. Let's see here. In front of you, we got two proclamations. We'll need motions for those. MAA newsletter for your information, Department of Transportation Infrastructure circular for your information, Department of Transportation and Infrastructure, item number 5, circular for your information. Those are, I guess, getting ready, Jason, for the capital works to come up for next year. So we shall move into the proclamations. Gordon, or Councillor Hancock, sorry, if you'd like to read the Child Abuse Prevention Month.
Sure.
And I'd ask that you sign, I know a lot of councils, the mayor signs most of the proclamations, some do, some whichever, but I think this is very fitting that you sign it and you swear off on it that it's, you're proclaiming it, and I have
Sure.
no issue.
Sure. Okay, so whereas children are the foundation for a prosperous and innovative society, and the foundation for child's growth and development is established when the community takes responsibility for creating healthy environments where our children can thrive, and whereas all children deserve to have a safe, stable, nurturing home and community to foster their healthy growth and development, and whereas child abuse and neglect is an important societal concern that may affect the long-term health and well-being of not only children but also the adults they become, and whereas child abuse and neglect impacts our entire society and our society's future, and whereas child abuse prevention is a shared responsibility and finding solutions requires the involvement and collaboration of citizens, organizations, and government entities, and whereas this month we emphasize the importance of understanding the devastating problem of child abuse and neglect and commit to learn more about the behavioral and physical signs of possible abuse, therefore I, Gordon Hancock, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2022 to be Child Abuse Prevention Month in Deer Lake, and urge all citizens to work together to help reduce child abuse and neglect significantly in the years to come.
All right, moved by Councillor Hancock, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Langdon. Call for a question. Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. All right, we have another one here in front of us. For October is Disability Employment Awareness Month. Had the pleasure to have local settler employees here last week to sign and be in presence to sign this. It was quite an experience, I have to say. I know most of the employees or whatnot, but the two specific that I think the longest employed with settler, Stephen Bickford and Jim Mercer, and everybody involved in it alone. It was just, it was enlightening to have them here to be able to do it. So I remember growing up with Jim. He was probably one of the biggest recyclers in this community, and hats off to him. He's still doing it. So it's tremendous. There's a lot of things we don't not see because of their efforts, right? As in waste and whatnot. So hats off to everyone with that organization. So I'll move on to this proclamation. Be it known to all Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, Disability Employment Awareness Month, DEEM, will be an annual awareness campaign which occurs each October throughout Canada. The purpose of Disability Employment Awareness Month is to recognize and celebrate the many and varied contributions of workers with disabilities. DEEM will also recognize the leadership of inclusive employers who promote employment inclusion and educate Newfoundlanders and Labradorians about disability employment issues and the benefits of inclusion to all citizens. Whereas a strong workforce is one inclusive of the skills and talents of all Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, whereas Newfoundlanders and Labradorians with disabilities constitute a growing population that experience issues which require positive change, including disappropriate unemployment, poverty, and labor market exclusion. Whereas the employment inclusion of people with disabilities benefits all of our citizens. Whereas the awareness of said benefits and the innumerable success stories of employment inclusion serve to positively promote inclusion of people with disabilities in the provincial workforce. And whereas Deer Lake, Newfoundland and Labrador is committed in our work to increase employment and inclusion for Newfoundlanders and Labradorians throughout the provision of leadership, resources, ongoing opportunities for dialogue and engagement. Now therefore, I, Mayor Mike Guzny, hereby proclaim the month of October in perpetuity as Disability Employment Awareness Month. Moved, seconded by Deputy Mayor Young. Call for a question. Hearing none. All those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. We shall move on to reports of finance, and I'll ask for Councillor Freak, please.
Finance was held on October the 6th. Councillor Jones, Councillor Fitzgerald, Town Manager Maxine Hayden, Communication Director Jason Young, and myself called in late. Item number 1, Brook Construction Annex Claim 11 for $922,122.90, cost shared. Recommended approval. Item number 2, Brook Construction Change Order 13 for Annex, $6,567.36. We're going to defer for more information from the engineers. Item number 3, Forge Menchington Annex, $12,187.64. Recommended approval. Item number 4, All North Consultants relocation of the culvert and access road for $25,777.92. Recommended approval. Item number 5, Gray Bar quote, the electrical transformer, the panel and the breakers for $3,937.13. Recommended approval. Item number 6, Phone Tech quotes for the council office for $2,311.76. Recommended approval. I just want to make note for item number 5, that's a transformer for on the field, correct? So we could plug lights in down there. So Steve went ahead to get that ordered because he knew it would be back ordered. So I make a motion to accept the finance report for October the 6th.
All right, thank you, Councillor Freak. Moved by Councillor Freak, seconded by Councillor Fitzgerald. Call for a question. I just got one on that transformer, and I got my fingers, Councillor Freak, and toes and everything else crossed. Is it possible, is the electrician, I guess, Glenn or Councillor Freak, or is he optimistic that we'll get it in time to
Yes.
have lighting?
I had
Okay.
a discussion with him today. If we, after this meeting, if we order it tomorrow, we'll have it in time for.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and then the works for that housing and in and stuff is all,
He talked about like one main booth, like he figured kind of a closet. He'd figure out something to place it there with for now.
okay, yeah, and he
Yeah.
knows up the code
Yeah.
and the spec work, so
Yeah.
perfect. So we will have lighting for outdoor rink. Thank goodness. Okay. All righty.
$25.
Oh, sorry. I got an addition to my report. Elwood Regional High School is going to be hosting their 45th annual tournament on November the 10th to the 12th, and they're looking for a $25 donation for their brochures. So I make a motion to make that standard donation to the Elwood basketball team.
Okay, so we'll just make a friendly
Sorry.
amendment, Krista, to add that.
Item number 7.
7?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Any more questions?
We can let folks know we are still working and we're going to revamp for budget time. Our standard donations, again, I've said it again, we've looked at donations and sponsorships. Maybe, you know, it all needs to kind of take a little revamping. And just to note, you know, anything that we've given over $1,000 in grants, any of our non-for-profits, they've always provided us with financial statements and those things provided once we give out anything over $1,000 of taxpayers' dollars. So I just want to have that for the record.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got a question, we got all those in favor coming next. Just one quick, I'm glad you brought that up. With the budget talks coming up, and obviously the process is all internal at first. I know, Councillor Freak, you have spoken about this before, and a lot of other municipalities are having public engagements. this might sound vague, but for what they're worth, they are valuable because sometimes it's the decisions that we make that you get from public the best. Is there any appetite from the finance committee to, or anybody on council actually, to house possibly one evening or two just to,
I spoke about having like a coffee corner before we done budget, like
Yeah.
that was the plan. Yep.
okay, so that's something, Jason, I guess we could put I guess it'd be best for you guys to time it, because that's not something I can just choose a date for, obviously,
Yep.
that's committee work, but if, speaking to other council members, they do get some really good input, right?
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
And, a lot of times, there's a lot of wish lists, just like us around the table, we'd love to have triple budgets without raising taxes, but sometimes we pick up on the littlest thing that we thought we always picked up on, or we missed, so. All right, that is all good. Any more discussion?
I'm wondering what number 6 is, I guess. I
can
just
speak to that
not
one,
familiar with
actually.
it.
I learned coming into the building, I had to call the town manager to make sure that I had the code right, and I didn't want to set off an alarm system. And I told her when I had read this finance report over the weekend, I was wondering, are we putting strobe lights for that? But this came up, and this is hats off to Darren sits on this committee, or Councillor Fitzgerald as well. But this came from a safety,
Okay.
from our safety tech. She did a in-house fire alarm drill,
Yeah.
and if we were here in this part of the building and there was a fire in the front end,
We wouldn't get-
we would have no idea.
Oh, okay.
So-
Gotcha. Yeah, well, that's really good. No problem from here. No
Right.
problem from here. That's really
Oh, I
good.
want to get out.
Yeah, very, very good.
Right?
I hear you. Yeah, let's move.
So hats off to that. I mean, because no matter who sits here ever at all, and just I wouldn't have ever picked up on them. I like
Yeah.
to think that I'm Mr. Safety, but
It's really good.
I mean, even when we went to school, remember fire drills, and everyone's like, "Ah, it's foolish." Well,
Yeah.
I guess it's not so foolish after all, are they? So hats off to the safety committee for that as well. Any more questions? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. Councillor Freak, can you take accounts payable, please?
So we've got accounts payable excluding item 51 and 47.
All right.
Okay, so yeah, items number 1 through 52, excluding 47, 51 for the total amount of $97,640.87.
All right, you're moving to accept, seconded by Councillor Jones. Call for the question.
Yeah, Mayor, just one there, like, for example, item number 22, they'll get timers, relays, fuse, and ballasts for lights, and item number 42, brooms, shelving, door, sweeper, and relay. One charge for $1,255, and the other's for $2,520. Just seems like a minute expense. It doesn't seem to be explained very well. That's a large enough expense that I know we've had questions before from other suppliers in terms of, gloves that we're buying that were $1,500. There seems to be no clarification on the quantities of those and whatnot, which concerned me sometimes.
Okay.
Just wondering if in the future we could have more clarification on items as such.
So Maxine's got copies of all the invoices, so you can actually see
Okay, yeah,
the
but
breakdown.
this one will be a public record as well, and this will be issued for our public.
You mean attached to the minutes?
Yes, correct.
Which item was that again? Sorry, Councillor.
Just 22, for example, and 42. I just know it was a concern that I brought up before, just about, I remember gloves was the example at the time, so.
Are you wondering if the most expensive items could be listed if there's limited space
Yeah,
or
potentially,
something?
if there's a large number of items there, it seems like very small costing items.
Do you want departments? Like which department?
Yeah, that would be great, I think, as well, to our residents, to see where that money is typically being spent, and just to clarify, I know that can be on request as well, I'm sure.
No, Councillor Langan, listen, I agree. Yeah,
Some makes it-
yeah. And
Yeah, I think it's just, and maybe the department would be excellent maybe as well, if we could add another column and clarify the department of those, or,
Yeah, and sometimes, I mean, it's an
Might be
addition,
multiple.
it's an addition to work on the administration side, but when I was in Lab City, I asked very similar questions in my very first term, and people kind of questioned back, but you're not wrong, because sometimes you can find duplications of, I'll give you an example. There was balaclavas bought through one department, and there was balaclavas bought through another department, and ended up finding out that they doubled up on one purchase because one department head wasn't speaking to the other, and then they ended up stuck with a bunch of overstock, which, so no, you're not wrong. More eyes on it, the better. And moving forward, if we can get a little more clarification, I mean, we don't want to inundate staff with, you know, down to a toothpick, and I don't think that's where you're going with it.
No,
So-
for sure. I think it's just more so, and these are public records, and for my own knowledge as well, to
Yeah.
know some of those, you know, that don't seem like costly items to me, seem to be a larger bill sometimes. And I'm certainly not questioning anybody in that, to just, I
No,
appreciate
that's
the
fair.
clarification for.
Yeah.
No, and again, that's why we sit here, so that's all great questions. Is there any more discussion?
I see number 52, drinks for the vending machines. Just want to make note that those are brand-new machines, and they're not working very well.
I can respond to that. We've had Pepsi, they tell us that they've had a problem with all these machines all across the island. They're working on this solution for us.
Okay.
The technician is coming back. The coins have been jamming up in the corner.
Could you also tell them potentially, I know we had this discussion, but a wireless tap machine or something? The coins don't jam in those.
No, but there's still, the coins will still jam. in the
Yeah,
corner.
yeah.
So we can ask them about having a wireless tap,
Yeah,
but that's
excellent.
still not gonna solve the problem with the,
No coins. Cashless world. Okay.
I honestly believe, like, with us not, I just seen that bill again for the vending machine, it just makes me crazy that, you know, you come out of a Sunday morning hockey practice and the only thing are, like, crunchies and, like, Twix bars. I think that we owe it to the kids to have something more healthy. We've got 2 machines that are right full of Gatorades. I think if we don't have, you know, a vendor down there, that we should somehow, some way stock those machines maybe with something a little different, or
No, I certainly agree, and I will note that some of the new vending items with Pepsi are now sugar-free, as opposed to before there was no options.
many of the Gatorade options, actually, I think there's 4 along with 2 lines of water.
right,
They're all
yeah.
So that was certainly noted in the selection process as well, and keeping the cost low with the sugar tax too is.
So, like, in the vending machines, can you do other things in there, like stock it full of
Not outside of our Pepsi contract. It must be a product of Pepsi. Is that correct?
for
Lynn?
chips and stuff
Uh,
No,
Sure.
in the food machine?
we can stock these different items, sure.
I'd like to just intervene, sorry, Glenn, and I
Yeah.
don't mean to cut anyone off, but
That's recreation.
no, and this is the blessing of having a family position as a deputy mayor and the committee that you'll see coming up. So a lot of this was brought forward in that committee of healthier eating, healthier whichever. So in conjunction, and I guess having the deputy mayor sit also with rec and now the chair of this new committee that's finally, we're getting off the ground. I think you'll see a lot of those things come forward. And I
Perfect.
know prior to the discussion before, there was a canteen discussion of, right, so all these things can roll in, hopefully, and keep moving after, you know, this term or whichever term anyone chooses to sit or wishes to sit here. So, back to your point, it's very important. I myself, I guess I'm coming up the age now, if I go to a vending machine, I'm like, oh, there's a healthy option, I'm gonna take the healthy option, right?
Or just more, like it was a busy weekend or whatever, and the thing was empty. And I know it's always been hard to like staff, restock, and do those sorts of things. I don't know, Jason, your family used a vending machine? No. See,
But I-
Jason's past the kids, you know, in order to get them out of the pool or out of the rink, we're going to the vending machine. No. I
right?
don't
But-
see you wants a tap option.
So it's good for you. You don't want a tap option, no. But
Basically, like the vending machine stock as soon as you go down. So today, after the weekend, you gotta remember, so on this weekend, we probably had 15 classes of swimming lessons. Every child who got a swimming lesson to the vending machine on the way, mom and dad. It's right at the beginning of the pool hallway, so they have to walk by it. So could have been well stocked on Friday, it's gonna be empty on Monday.
So if we know we've got 15 classes, let's see if the staff could fill it up. at the end of the day versus waiting for Monday.
Sure.
I'm just thinking you got like,
Typically, we buy.
Yeah, no, and I think, Glenn, typically the canteen provider also helps with stocking the machines, correct, previously? So right now, I'm sure you're aware we don't have a canteen provider, and
I'm
some
aware.
of these things that you brought forth, maybe not in the snack vending machine about healthy options, but they certainly were noted, among health and wellness of what we want to do as a recreation department as well, with the selection of Pepsi over Coca-Cola, among other things. That was one that they provided sugar-free options, but when we spoke about the tender for the canteen and stuff as well, which we're still actively looking for. That some of those stuff was noted and showing that we had healthier options. Now I know, if you spoke to the old provider at theirs, she said, you could have as much fruit as you want. It's just going to sit on the table and rot. So there is a cost measure to it as well.
Absolutely.
But we certainly promote that and want to see healthier options in our area.
and even if you reach out, I mean, we got great resources with Rec and L. I'm sure, every rec department's having these conversations, what are you putting in your vending machines? What's moving? Give it a go. Give it a try.
Yeah, no, we certainly can, for sure.
Okay.
All righty. Any more discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you, Councillor Freak. Councillor Fitzgerald, we shall move on.
Oh,
We
wait.
No,
still have
I got
two items
two,
left on
two
the-
items,
Oh,
47
sorry,
and
sorry,
51.
sorry, yeah.
Last of the vending machines.
I did
Sorry,
get-
my bad.
And some people say you
Fine department.
watch council meetings around the province, some people say that, there's too much discussion, more discussion the better. So I just want to thank everyone for that, because that's where the ideas come from. Keeping me on track, I'll ask Councillor Jones to step out, or Councillor
Oh, you go first, sure.
first. in
47.
order. Thank you, sir.
This must have been a couple add-ons.
Okay, I make a motion to pay number 47 to Western Steelworks for $123.12.
All right, moved by Councillor Freak, seconded by Councillor Hancock. Call for a question. Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion carried, thank you. All right, Councillor Hancock.
Item number 51, make a motion to pay the invoice for B&S Trucking for $2,875 for September dumpsters for the depot and the hotter.
All right, thank you. Moved by Councillor Freak, seconded by Councillor Fitzgerald. Call for a question.
Those are astronomical numbers for garbage disposals. Like, I wants to rattle the chains for waste. But anyway, there we are. Let's move on so we don't be here all night. But
Yeah, we could be here for a
yeah,
while.
just for the record.
All right.
All right.
All those in favor? Motion carried. All righty, now, Councillor Fitzgerald, we shall move on to Public Works, please.
Sure thing, Mr. Mayor. This is the report for the Public Works meeting of October 6th. In attendance was Councillor Langdon, Councillor Hancock, Town Manager Maxine Hayden, Public Works Superintendent Dave Thomas, Director of Operations Communications Jason Young, and I. Item number 1 is quotes for wastewater treatment lagoon assessment. 2 quotes were received by 2 engineering firms during the request period. The committee has reviewed each and recommends awarding the work to CBCL to complete the study. Item number 2, Capital Works Priority List 2023. Committee discussed the major needs of the town and recommends submitting applications for 4 projects. They include, in order of priority, Garden Road, Main Street Lift Station, Riverbank Road, and lagoon upgrades. Would just like to indicate to all council members that Garden Road and the Main Street Sewage Pumping Station has been identified as priority for several years. These repairs are imperative to our existing infrastructure, which has made our priority list 1 and 2. Moreover, the RFQ for the lagoon study has been presented as an item 1 of this agenda, and we are currently advertising the RFQ for the Riverbank Road foundering concern. Number 3, water filtration building extension. As a proactive measure to coincide with our water filtration system upgrades, the committee is recommending an RFQ as well as an allocation of our gas tax to extend the current water filtration building. This will provide the adequate space for the upgraded filtration system and the future water operator's office. Just to note that this extension will only consist of a shell to allow for expedited construction once the contract has been lit to upgrade the actual filters. Item number 4. Item number 4, Riverbank Road. As mentioned under item number 2, an RFQ is currently advertised with the closing date of October 21st, 2022. We hope to have some help from some assistance from some engineering firms there shortly after the closing date. Number 5, Fifth Avenue stormwater issues. Based on past council meetings, I'm not sure the actual public meeting numbers, but Public Works Department has met with a local contractor to alleviate the concentrated water runoff entering a resident's property. Work will include a small section of pavement removal and resurfacing, which will direct the water towards an existing catch basin that was installed last year. This work is scheduled next couple of weeks, but I do believe this is completed on Fifth Avenue when I drove by the other day. So we'll see if this is actually a working solution. Item number 6, just an FYI for ditch work. Our Public Work Division have been busy completing ditching around town. Currently, the ditch behind the southern boundary of the homes located along Crosses Road have been completed. And currently, right now, ditching was ongoing at the time of the meeting along Fifth Avenue near Reed's Lane. With that said, I recommend Council accept the report of October 6th.
All right, thank you, Councillor Fitzgerald. Moved by Councillor Fitzgerald, seconded by Councillor Langdon. Call for the question.
Yes, Mayor, Councillor Fitzgerald, item number 5 there, actually, you asked if the solution will be fixed there. Actually, the resident came to my office concerns that the issue might have made it worse for his property, actually. So if we can get Public Works to look back into that and see if that the concerns from the resident there, and I believe he stopped by the town office there today to file a formal complaint again there. But like I said, there seems to be some more issues there in the area.
Yeah, just to add to Councillor Langdon, the profile of of Fifth Avenue itself is in, I guess, is not correct, which is sending all the water into this one location. He's receiving the water from both sides of the road, and our new sidewalk is more or less concentrating the water to that one point where it used to run off. I do believe our Public Works Superintendent thought this would be a solution to assist in this, to try and revert the water back, and I guess we'll have to review this area. Just the hardest part is that this may require a significant amount of work to actually solve this issue. Thanks.
Okay.
Item number 3 for the water filter building. So if we're using gas tax, wouldn't the water filter building be a part of the cost share once we put up the filter? Like, explain to me why we would use gas tax.
This would have came up in the application for the water filter.
Okay.
The town at the time had applied for replacement and expansion of the water filtration system, but upon review, we were only allowed or allotted money to replace existing filters, which left us where there wasn't funds allocated for a building expansion. Because you would replace what you currently have.
Right.
The committee, as brought up by Chair Fitzgerald, we would look at that upon approval, we would look at conducting a shell of a building so that the new filters could go in a new location within the building.
Right,
So
okay.
we would have the ability to provide,
Gotcha, okay.
It was a proactive approach.
And it's not, that's good, because it's just not, okay,
It wasn't available.
okay.
Thanks, Jason.
So is this more, this I guess is more for administration or administrative duties in the plant? This is not structural, like for rigging and, you mean?
This could be a new location for the filtration upgrade, like
Yeah.
in the building.
Yeah.
For the most part, what we're doing is creating a shell. And once we know exactly what we're going to require, obviously we kind of know we need to build onto our building, that we will knock down the interior, will be the interior wall to open up the building to a bigger structure. And we'll be able to pour
yeah.
the slab and everything to that point after the fact, once we know exactly what the design is going to look like. And to get what Jason had said, to provide this office space that's much needed by our operators, so.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
So-
That's good foresight as well. Just to that note, we still haven't, not all of council, some haven't had the pleasure to take site tours of certain assets belonging to the town, so I think maybe, you know, in the new year, that's something we could look at. I know a lot of people don't get excited about sewage treatment plants or whatnot, but when I got to go to Grand Falls, their system out there was remarkable, and people were kind of looking at me a little oddly, thinking, why is this guy? But it's my trade. It's, you know, the importance of all, obviously, drinking water and effluents. So there's other things we all know. The arena, inside out, Glenn can probably say some of us are there too much, myself probably too, but just when you're talking to reference where Councillor Fitzgerald's coming from, it makes it so much easier to understand a lot of these recommendations. So if we could, I guess, Maxine, that would be on request of council members when time allows, right? At everyone's own time, so. Are there any more questions? I got one if we're all good.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
I got one, so the gas tax, you're looking for money from our gas tax to do this?
That is correct.
So what, I guess what, like the gas tax, we recommended this year, in order to take from that, do we have to go back to the government for approval to change our gas tax allocation?
Not on what you would have received this year.
So just this
But
year,
we
the
do
gas
have-
tax.
We do have to send a letter off to them if council's in agreement that we'd be able to use part of our gas tax towards this building, yes.
Yes. So
And
not the present, but the future gas tax.
And just for record, I'm not sure what it's called, but it's no longer called gas tax, just for our clarification. It's, I'm not sure.
Gravy money.
Yeah, sure. You know what? You nailed it, 100%. Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Hancock, you had a question?
I know, so I'm just wondering if you should do the same thing in this particular one. It looks like it was.
That's what we need Lori or, Chris, did you want to
Would that
separate?
be a
them?
separate motion?
Yeah, okay.
It would,
This one just an FYI, it says FYI.
it would be, but this would come back to finance for your next committee meeting to come through.
Are you typing recommend for the
Yeah.
application process or?
Oh, no, for the, in just
Allocation.
establishing what the 2023 priorities would be. Looks like when 2022 is completed, it was done as a separate motion. Just from some of the attachments to the Public Works report. And in that case, it was recommended by you and then supported by Councillor Langdon in the previous one, November 2nd.
We do have to have a separate motion for our
We do,
gas tax,
yes.
for our priority list.
Yeah, 'cause this is not an FYI, this
No.
is our priority list. It was just FYI, the Garden Road has been identified.
Mm.
So can I remove number 2 from the report and we'll do a separate motion?
All right, so just ask for a friendly amendment to your report, removing item number 2. And we'll go through 1, 3, 4, 5. I just want to bring up number 4 real quick. Can we get that letter out to residents that are local in the area for Riverbank to make them aware of what we're going to do? Jason, Maxine? That we are moving forward with a plan? And just one other question, I guess, Darren, this one will be best suited for you, or sorry, Councillor Fitzgerald. Item number 1, Maxine, I'm not in conflict if it's a relative, but at this stage of a relative, that's his company. there's quite a discrepancy, or not discrepancy, but there's a broad range in pricing, right?
Agreed.
Are we confident that the first one that will take in the full scope? I'm actually probably gonna call after out of curiosity myself, just to say what. I know some places bid high, low, but I just wanna make sure that,
I think it's safe to say what we've asked for. They both have answered the request for quotation, so we understand the discrepancy in the pricing. But we do believe the company that we've asked to award to, CBCL,
Yeah.
has provided the necessary requirements to fulfill the RFQ.
no, good stuff. And the reason I bring that up, because we ran into it in the last council with certain bidders, and
Yeah.
there was this bid and there was this bid, and we're going,
Yeah.
are we getting the scope? And then we did run into a couple issues where we
Hey,
didn't get.
To be honest, it was one of the first questions asked when we were talking about it in the meeting. You know what I mean? We talked about that like a fair amount.
Okay.
Yeah.
It seemed to be, yeah. But I get why you're asking the question.
No, it
100%.
makes sense.
Yeah, 100%.
And again, this is in transparency, this is the first time I would see it come into this report. I'm not into the daily operations like that, but I was taken
Yeah.
back going, whew,
Yeah.
right? What a difference, so.
I think everyone was a little bit.
Okay. Sounds good. Any more questions? Hearing none. All those in favor? Motion carried. Item number 2, Councillor Fitzgerald, please.
All right. Just to reiterate what I just read a second ago, Public Works recommends adopting the Capital Works priority list for 2023. Item number 1, Garden Road. Item number 2, main lift sewage pumping station. Number 3, Riverbank Road, foundering concern or foundering conditions. And 4, lagoon upgrades. Public Works recommends adopting or accepting this as the Capital Works priority list for 2023.
All right, moved by Councillor Fitzgerald, seconded by Councillor Hancock. Call for the question.
So this is just a recommendation. This could change, obviously, if something changes, right? It's
Maxine?
not carved in stone. We can change our priority list if need be.
If need be.
Yeah, okay.
All right, any more questions? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you, Councillor Fitzgerald. We shall move on to Environment and Housing. Councillor Jones, please.
Okay, we had an Environment and Housing meeting on Thursday, October the 6th, with council and staff present. Items are presented in front of you. On the general repairs, the first 6 items, basic windows, repair the basement, shingles and doors, etc. Permits have been issued. Extensions for decks and patios, 28 Woodford Drive and 5 Dr. McDonald Drive, permit been issued. Accessory buildings, Sunrise Crescent for a garage, permit been issued. Next one is 11 Murdoch Drive for a garage, is approved pending a variance approval. Under new dwellings, Sunrise Crescent, a new dwelling permit been issued. 11 Murdoch Drive, a new dwelling permit been issued. Commercial construction, 2028 Church Street, this permit been issued. Land development, Murdoch Drive for 101 to 250 loads of fill, the permit's been issued. Under action, just for the record, I guess we have 21 new dwellings this year, which is great to see from 4 last year. And under the action items, Evergreen Lane, we have general looking to acquire a piece of land from the town. We're going to defer until we do our lagoon study, and once it's completed, we will evaluate it then. Number 2 and 7 Maple Street, water issues. There's a letter attached. Public Works looking to mitigate the water issues in that area in the spring of 2023. Action number 3, Hillside Drive. The lady would like to know if she could develop this property before she purchased. The attached proposal is there. We're deferring this for more information because we're not quite sure on what kind of developments or type of development she wants. So there's rules and regulations for each kind. Number 4 was a letter delivered to this Copper and Pine Tree Drive. I guess for verification of business that's been stated or that we are aware of, so we're just waiting for a response. No response, and we're gonna recommend sending a letter now for non-compliance with 7 days' notice. And number 5, boat launch, we need a civic address now for this area, so we're gonna defer this for now and bring it back to council to choose a name of the new road for this property and the location. I move that we accept the environment noticing for Thursday, October the 6th as presented.
All right, thank you. Moved by Councillor Jones, seconded by Councillor Fitzgerald. Call for a question. Councillor Langland, please.
Absolutely, as Chair Jones said there, it's great to see 21 new dwellings there, but as I just look on the website here on my phone, the last statistics that we have updated are from 2016 with 25 new dwellings, and we have from 2016 to 2006, and also the contact info there for economic development is our old economic development officer, Mark Lanswood, who left the town about 8 months ago. I wonder if we get that updated on the website there, just some of the new dwellings and contact to ensure we don't hinder future development. Oh, excellent. Well, never mind. Keep emailing Mark. The federal government will pay for
That's
him.
true, I did hear him say that. That's a good idea.
It is a great point there, Councillor Langnam, but obviously, if anybody sees any updates going on, no need to wait for a public meeting for it, just call the management with a way.
No, I'm hoping you were going to update the website for us with your expertise.
I can say a few things, but I'm not gonna put them.
Maybe it's going to stay that way for a while.
Yes,
Smart man.
that's why Mark is gonna help us.
All right.
I got a comment for action items number 4. I've had several people contact me wondering why all of a sudden the town is, reaching out to home-based businesses and things. So just so the public is aware, and you just heard, we've been 8 months without an economic development officer. That was a role of the economic development officer, confirming what businesses were active in town. As people would, create new businesses, they would make the town aware of it. We would put their business on our town website, so if somebody was looking for it, you kind of got a benefit out of it. You also got, the opportunity to take advantage of first-time tax incentives. So there was a little bit of a benefit, obviously, to come to the town, but nobody singled out. Like, this is not just for one person or somebody complained. Like, I think the municipal enforcement officer, he's got an armful of folks that he's actually contacted with businesses that we haven't been following up with. And again, it's a good thing for your neighborhood to make sure that your neighbors, you have to properly advertise, if you're operating a business, it's a courtesy thing to your neighborhood if this is what you're doing. So it's not just a tax grab, it's 100%, we want to make sure that anybody moving to town knows about your business. It's on our website, it's on our app. You can be a part of things, we can communicate with you. So I just kind of wanted to make that note for the few people I've heard from on that.
Good, thank you.
And hopefully, we can fill those shoes of an economic development officer soon.
You never know.
All right. Any more discussion? Hearing none. All those in go. You squeeze it. Squeeze it in.
For economic development, again, for a public meeting, we actually met with the Minister of Housing. It's something that council's very aware of, the housing shortage that's in our community. I think management's taken an active role in that as well. I know Councillor Hancock's going to meet with another manager soon, so that is on the radar for environment and housing. We have not lost sight of the housing crisis going on right now, so stay tuned, and we'll keep you updated as we try to do things on this end as well.
Good point. I was speaking with in the parking lot actually with the former mayor in it's his district now, but in the community he represented, they're going through the same things, and it's not unique here, but I think we've got a lot of ways to progress probably, and we're probably in some better shape with having people like Councillor Hancock around the table to be able to take this head on. So again, back to your comments, stay tuned. Are there any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. All right, moving on to Economic Development. Councillor Hancock, please.
Sure. Economic Development met October 7th. In attendance was myself, Councillor Freak, and Director of Operations Communications, Jason Young. Number one, the EDO position, which was just talked about in the previously by Councillor Freak. The committee recommends that we actually hire a new economic development officer in 2022, knowing, of course, that it would take time for this to occur, and thus it would likely occur toward the end anyway. Board of Trade, Small Business Week. Number two, committee is planning a breakfast event for Small Business Week. Committee is working with community groups to plan other events such as lunchtime, walks on the trail network. Number three, the community welcome sign. An RFQ is being prepared for the design and install of the sign base for the community welcome sign along the TCH corridor. Number four, Swords Park. The committee discussed recent meetings that were held between Track Consulting and Town Management regarding next steps for Swords Park. Committee recommends a virtual meet with Tract and full council to review potential planning for this item in 2023. One of the pieces not here was that we talked about as well, meeting as recreation and economic development, and then bringing it to full council with a virtual meeting. Annex update, number 5. The steel is currently being installed on the building. Management continues to be involved in monthly progress meetings for the project. Committee recommends a meeting to be scheduled between the consultant and full council to review project schedule and completion date. Number 6, the new boat launch. Topography, survey, and soundings will be completed to plan future development on the boat launch area. And that concludes the meeting, and a motion to accept the report as presented.
All right, thank you, Councillor Hancock. Moved by Councillor Hancock, seconded by Councillor Freak. Call for a question.
I just like to make note for a couple of things for economic development and for council. That's going to take place very soon to challenge our businesses. We've got a couple of staffers working on a few things. Socket for Sick Kids is taking place November the 18th. So stay tuned as Leslie challenges us and other businesses in the community to donate to the Ronald McDonald House. October month is Healthy Workplace Month. Leslie and Hillary are working on a few items within the organization, so stay tuned for that. And I just made Councillor Hancock aware of World Mental Health Awareness Day was this week. So there's a couple of challenges that we can put out for our residents to bring awareness to that. So those are a couple of things we can add to our business communications out to our community, that they can cascade that out to their staff.
Good stuff. Councillor Langdon?
It's a good thing there's no limit on myself and Councillor Freak's questions tonight.
Right.
But no,
There shouldn't be. There shouldn't be.
I know you mentioned there, Councillor Chair Hancock, there in your when you spoke, but it's not in writing there, just to ensure that we are consultated with the rec department, which I know that you're on as well, just to come up with some of the concerns that we heard from user groups, myself and Glenn in the department this year, and just to ensure that we're all in agreement there with what's going ahead there. And for item number 1, well, hopefully we can just transfer the updated information to to some new information. So
Yeah.
All right, great discussion.
I mean,
Roy.
I should note for number 1 that a lot of people have defined what is an economic development officer. And although we do have a working job description, and we've already done, we already did that kind of, I guess, more extensive, and we used a consultant to get the last one. It can change and be shifted slightly if there's alterations or if there's different views, I guess, on what defines that role.
no, for sure, but I definitely think this is a paramount piece that we need in our community to continue strong development that we've seen in the years past, and certainly not hindering that by potentially, construing what staff should be doing or whatnot, and make sure that's defined in the hiring. But like I said, I certainly think that's a very valuable asset to our community and much needed.
We even spoke of, we've hired, the last few people we've hired within the community depending on the needs, we've kind of shifted, and, we've shifted with their strength as well. So we talked about even things like the annex coming on board, the selling of our industrial park, being the champion for the town of Deer Lake, filling our annex with, monthly guest speakers or heritage projects, continuing to bring people to our community. Like there's a piece that's could be part of that economic development officer.
Yeah, certainly, and I think that's something I've been noting from day one since we got elected here, is that our annexes are so much more than just athletics, that it's
100%.
recreation is very deep and diverse, and many of those things, and we must ensure that our annex is utilized to its maximum capacity as well at all times, and I certainly think that's something that the economic development officer, along with our rec staff, could certainly help spearhead. And I know we spoke with a lot of hotels and stuff as well, and their issue is shoulder seasons. Their vacancy rate is very, very low in the summertime, which is great to see. But the shoulder seasons, I think that's something that our EDO could certainly help out with in utilizing our annex, and obviously the new hotel coming on board. So it's exciting times ahead.
100%.
As time evolves, you see more, I guess for this council, having the void not filled, I guess, is quite noticeable for certain different aspects of the operations community. But 12 years ago, I think it was, when I first signed up for council, like, this position was starting to become a lot more popular in municipalities of certain sizes, and I wasn't one to question it, but I was intrigued to find out what it was all about. And it does play a powerful role in your community, not only in just the economics of which, finances, but health-wise as well. Because back to collaboration with recreation committees, and that's the things that attract people to your community, which again attracts the tax base and a healthy community. So I think we're up for a great discussion during finance budget coming up, and I look forward to it.
We've even had we can thank our last two economic development officers for all of our trail systems, seeing the potential of once somebody lands here. And you think about how the residents feel just about that. That's an economic development officer. So great value in what we've had, and great visions from the last two.
Definitely.
Three.
All right, is there any further discussion?
Yeah, I guess I can chime in on the EDO. So our last EDO has began with 7 months. First of all, our staff are doing a great job in the interim of not having an EDO officer here. Obviously, there's lots of decisions going to be made in the future that we can't really discuss with the public now, that probably the next 4 to 5, 6 months is going to be very exciting time for the town of Deer Lake. And our staff is continuing to do that. But the things you listed out for the EDO officer is going to be doing, I don't know, we need two by the sound of it, because there's a lot of work on the go for this EDO. Yeah, well, to me, obviously, I'm not sure who knows in the public, but our town manager is retiring in the spring. So right now, and that's off Maxine, I wouldn't want to deal with us either, but anyway, it's good for you. And I think the annex thing, obviously, it's going to be opened up in 23, and we're going to need someone to market that. There's a few things we got on the go that you discussed what the EDO is doing. It's going to be off the plate of the EDO. Obviously, not budgeted for 2022. The new manager, once comes in place, maybe that new manager, obviously, we're going to look at restructuring the old facility, not just the manager, it's going to be whoever. So I guess jobs and roles, and right now, there's a lot of stuff on the budget from everybody coming in, and we're going to, obviously, everybody's not going to give everything they want. So I think we should wait for the EDO, especially probably even wait till the new manager comes in, he or she, it doesn't matter. But I think our staff right now in the interim are doing a great job. Let's sit back. I agree with you. We're probably going to need EDO down the road right now, or some different job title person to help out in certain areas. It might be exactly an EDO. It might be I don't know, just say person of drive or whatever to promote our town and our annex and assist in day-to-day operations, not just certain areas. Like our town is growing, like I said, our staff is doing great, guys, great as far as I'm concerned. I commend them. So I think we should hold off and wait till we get our new manager hired, and let's sit down and we can be ready for the spring to decide what to do with the new developments with the hotel and certain other things, items that's in our pocket right now that obviously we can't divulge because, you know, that's the way the system works. So I think we should wait for the EDO position. That's my opinion, and that's my few, I guess, argument and points about it. Thank you.
Darren, you gonna?
Thank you for that. I'm just gonna speak to it real quick. Just for clarification, this motion that entails item 1 to 6, item number 1 isn't specifically saying green light to hire, right? This is for further discussion.
No.
No, it says
Green
they
light to hire.
recommend to hire.
What's that?
2022.
Green light to hire.
2022.
Well,
And Mayor, when we think about hiring them and we looked back at what they've done, the EDO is the position that pays for itself or more. It brings our heritage students, it brings our climate change students, it brings, that person's much larger, that we get a lot more out of the role. It's just not an operating cost. It normally brings, it covers, it pays for itself and more. And we've been 8 months without one. So we truly felt that, you know what, this is, things aren't moving in the hopper just because we need that person. That's where our head was at.
We got our grants. We haven't missed no grants. Our staff done great for grants this year and opportunities and funds.
Yeah,
I
I
would
want to note
agree. I
that,
think-
Gary, sorry, Councillor Hancock, but a lot of those grants would have been applied for by our economic development officer when they were there. So we haven't seen the effects of that yet. Now, no doubt, I certainly agree that our staff is doing
I thought our staff
a
done a
wonderful
great
job,
job.
but I feel that some of those concerns that some of them may be still being missed just because, you know, obviously they can't do everything, but I certainly agree that they're doing a fabulous job. But so, yeah, you said we did great for grants this year, but that was the effect of an economic development officer last year, for the most part.
just for discussion, back to Councillor Jones' comments about, you know, certain things in motion or whatnot, and obviously, you just brought forward publicly that the town manager will be retiring, and we'll speak about that another time. Maxine, God love you for putting up with us for this long, but,
Thank you for your service.
absolutely, and that'll be highlighted as well, but the manager is also going to be part of the progression planning, so you're kind of putting, what is it they say, cart, horse, whichever, prior, in consultations with the HR committee, which, you know, wouldn't be privy to full council as of right yet with this transition. I think it's safe to say that you will see a very strong push towards that position being filled, but I don't think that, I don't even know actually if I've ever seen it come through to ask for a position through a committee prior to budget. So I'm going to ask if you just defer that one, Councillor, and that's your own choice or whichever, but at this time, until we can bring you up to speed within probably, is it fair to say, Deputy and Councillor Jones within maybe the next 10 days? So then you can bring this back again, which would be approved, I would hope, I would think.
Just, Mayor, to your comment there regarding about the hiring through the budget process, would this be a budget issue if it was already allotted for the 2022 year?
I think we hired 2 part-time staff because we never had the money and we said we would take it from the EDOs. We never hired one. So
But
the
have
money
we
was
hired
then
have we hired the 2 part-time staff?
Didn't we
Yeah.
hire no one in public works? in that
Okay,
stadium?
outside of the, okay.
Right? That's my
Yeah.
understanding. That's where the money comes from for them.
And as much as I love debate around the table and open discussion as much as possible, I think this is more of an HR thing that we'll bring back. It should come back to the top managers and go from there, if the committee is okay to amend. I guess the best thing is just give us about 10 days.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say that I think that part of putting it here was to sort of drive home the fact that, like,
You're
we
serious.
need this, and we're
Yeah.
serious, and it's going to keep coming back.
Yeah.
You know, and so although I have no issue with like 10 days because it's likely not to change anything in terms of, you know, in terms of timelines, it likely won't make that big of a difference. I will say that waiting for the new manager, whether that be like March, April, whatever, that might be a little far. I just think like, I don't think it's going to change anything. I think that this position, they're well rooted in communities. EDO is well known. It's almost like saying let's wait to hire, not the town clerk because that's like a required position, but like something near that. Most towns of this side would have an EDO, and we've done very well with ours. And I would sort of echo a lot of Amanda's, or sorry, Councillor Freak's comments, and Councillor Langdon's. And not to mention, our Director of Operations and Communications, which is currently taking on a lot of this task and work closely with the EDO, was at this meeting. And I don't want to put on the spot, but I think he would probably say that he did very well with that support and would be recommending. And I think you are too. You just want to wait. So although I have no issue with, like, for me personally, 10 days or whatever, but I wouldn't want it to go beyond or go too far into the future, and we forget about it again for 4 months or 5 months or something.
No, I can assure you, Councillor Hancock, our relationship working together, I think you can take this
100%.
word in this world, trust, but
Yeah.
you can be trusted to know that there's an action plan that Councillor Jones has worked very hard on, and just, I think you need to let it play its course to go from there, and then I think once that goes, everybody will be on the same page in the going forward direction and the importance of, you know, making that motion here.
Yeah, no, I can certainly, for me personally, I do trust what you say, and I'm okay with it. I mean, I'm not the only committee member, but
No, and again, this, you know, privy to whichever one we should move on to get this passed, but if you're okay to make a friendly motion to, and you can even
sure.
You can even accept it and make a friendly amendment to your information and recommendations if you want to reword it, or you can even hold us to task to say, coming back in 10 days, we'll confirm.
You know, or within reason. I mean, I know that things happen. You might be on your 10th day and it's like, well, geez, we're meeting tomorrow. Like, you know, within reason, of course. But, you know, we're not unreasonable. And I think part of putting it here is maybe even knowing, hey, there's a chance this won't go through. But let's drive home the fact that we're pretty serious, like you said. And
the best thing about, sorry to cut you off, the best thing about being public and recorded, we're saying it and we're going to stand by it. So
yes, 100%. Yeah, certainly. So can I do it now?
yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I'd like to make a friendly amendment to the EDO position number 1 to hold off perhaps on this particular piece as the HR committee goes through a process that they referenced, and they'll bring back something, you know, within around 10 days.
Yeah. And we can communicate that, Councillor Jones, through through communications officer, right? Through email, just to bring everybody up to speed. So, all righty. Any more discussion?
Yes, Mayor, I have a question about item number 3, the community welcome sign.
No questions about number 3, sorry.
If it means anything, I agree with number 1. The RFQ is being prepared for the design and install of the sign base. How about the actual sign?
Yeah, like we did talk about that. Like, it's, for me, I saw this as like a, well, geez, you know, how do you design one without the other kind of thing? You know, like one has to be attached to the other. And so I think, if I'm correct, Jason, we own the rights to that sign. It talks about material list and weight and size and stuff. And so the RFQ providers will be given details as to sign details. But the sign itself.
So the sign, the design of the sign actually states the materials and everything as,
That's, I think.
Yeah, and we consulted with Grand Falls Windsor with their sign, so in their RFQ will pretty much reflect what they did. I'm not saying that we won't skew from it, but our plan was to prepare RFQ to go to council
okay.
for review before.
Yeah, yeah.
This was just because the money is budgeted in 2022 for the sign.
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted to have a plan before the end of the budget year
To me, I would recommend, my recommendation would be to do the entire unit at one thing. However, that's up to your committee level. Possibly. No, possibly they'll do, yeah.
So is that one sign or two signs or three signs?
One for this, one is approved in budget.
One sign.
One's approved in budget.
Wow.
But that's good.
Well, how much have we budgeted for signage?
We have budgeted
$50,000 for one sign.
Yeah.
I believe it was actually, was it more than that in the budget?
I thought it was 65, but I could be mistaken.
I believe it might
No,
be
I-
65 as well.
65, I thought we were gonna get at least two signs, you know, I didn't know, right, for sure.
Now, that will be phase one of our signs.
Probably gonna be 10,000, you know, it's not gonna be more.
We talked about even the other two gateway signs from Northern Peninsula being a very small, when we leave tonight, we can show you what Councillor Langdon was kind of saying. You know what? It doesn't have to be this sign just minimized. It can be like a little bit of a different.
Yeah, so
We'll show you
Like
when
a
we
mini
go.
me.
Yeah,
This
like
is-
a mini me.
Like a mini,
yeah, so I don't think that they won't be the same cost for all three signs. More than likely, two will be the same cost, and then one will be a cheaper option, more of a hybrid sign we spoke about. But
So-
I don't know why I'm saying we. This is not my
So
department.
probably gonna have $150,000, three signs, basically. If not more, if not more. Wow,
Certainly looks.
So
Now,
again,
that's what I meant by well.
yeah.
we can.
In respect, I think we're all here to try to protect the taxpayers' purse as best as possible, but we should move on.
Yeah, sorry, and yeah, to comment on that, I certainly think, but I certainly think that's part of our plan for continued enhancement of welcome into our community and further development. So,
Sense of arrival. I mean, everybody's
Yeah.
working towards that sense of arrival. We're the gateway. You know, we still got.
and we're
tourism's
seeing,
been
off
the
substantial
rails.
investments in private industries, the
Absolutely.
Deer Lake Airport and others. So I think it's paramount that we continue that. And frankly, right now, I think our signs are an embarrassment. But
Especially the one we're open to.
especially all of them, I think, even one that doesn't exist.
You know,
We'll start with one, like, you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure.
We'll learn from it.
Or if we'd like budget costs, we can go back to the paint at home with Darren Langdon, if you'd like.
Surely somebody could. put
No,
that
no
in.
rise from Councillor
Just
Jones.
don't forget where you came from.
Oaks Road.
you know, in the original designs, I'm sure council today, it looked modern and looked good, but like anything, sometimes after so long, you gotta modernize again, so.
Understatement. We've been here how long have we been looking at that sign? What was the date on it? Yeah. What?
Okay.
All right, folks, all good discussion. Is there any more? Hearing none, before I lose my place here, all those in favor? A motion has been carried. We shall move on. I just want to make sure, because my agenda is not adding up to, we're going on to recreation. Councillor Langdon.
So the Department of Arts, Recreation and Culture met on October 7, 2022. In attendance was myself, Councillor Langdon, Town Manager Maxine Hayden, Director of Recreation Community Services Glenn Wiseman, and Director of Operations and Communications Jason Young. Item number 1 is for council approval is the parking lot off of Main Street in front of the Holler. The Recreation Director have had numerous conversations with Public Works Superintendent Dave Thomas about the possibility of having a parking lot created in the upper entrance of the Holler off of Main Street near Wireless World. Public Works Superintendent advised that this could be done, creating approximately 25 parking spaces at a cost of $10,000 to $15,000. This would alleviate some parking issues in the reduced space of the main parking lot that is currently being used for the laydown yard, and also for future when we suspect to see an increase from our new annex opening and other increased usage of the facility. This would also alleviate concerns raised by both minor hockey and the current owner of the Hair Shack there around loss of parking spaces both in the parking lot and off Main Street, as we mentioned earlier in this meeting. Recreation recommends Public Works work to create this parking space. Now we understand that it's a large cost range from $10,000 to $15,000, and we can certainly clarify on that number at a later date as well. Item number 2, and the rest of the items, sorry, are for council information. items 2 to 5 are for council information. Swimming lesson registration took place on September 15th with 201 children registered in group swimming lessons and another 25 in private lessons, which I believe is currently our highest user group of any recreation program in our community. And Glenn, was this the first time that we used the online registration? Oh, okay. Never mind then. Sorry. But we certainly commend the staff there for their great work. Item number 3 is storage solutions for hockey gears and bags. The Recreation Department is currently looking into storage solutions for user groups and hockey bags for private use in the arena. User groups and some skater parents are interested in space to store equipment at the arena. Item number 4 is showers in the pool and arena. At the end of November, Duffy's Plumbing will be installing new shower valves in the swimming pool showers. We have also contacted the supplier of the shower heads for the arena to see if there are some adjustments that could be made in the shower. So I know this has been brought up numerous times from different constituents and residents regarding the concerns of the showers. So we're certainly looking into that there now. Item number 5 is Main Street tree lights. The Recreation Department is looking into alternative options for replacing tree lights along Main Street that are currently not working effectively and don't have multicolor available to be used during the holiday season. These lights will not be color changing, so we're looking to install new lights that's a temporary fix for the holiday season and hopefully a longer term effect come next year. Item number 6 is for council approval, ice rates for off-peak times. The Recreation Department would like to run a trial pilot project to reduce ice rates from October 12th to December 22nd, 2022. These rates per hour will be the equivalent to the current birthday party rate of $100 per hour rather than the regular ice rate of $135 per hour. The trial will be used to see if the increased revenue during the least used periods of the day. Recreation recommends this trial for rate reduction period. And I believe, Glenn, we agreed that that rate reduction will run from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday currently? Yeah, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday until 3 p.m. So I make a motion to accept these minutes. The meeting was adjourned at 1 p.m.
All right, thank you, Councillor Langdon. Moved by Councillor Langdon, seconded by Councillor Freak. Call for the question.
One question, I guess, the 10,000 to 15,000 we are thinking is going to be the parking lot fix, and you said maybe could be a little more. I guess I don't think that's in the rec budget right now. I just wonder where it's coming from.
I had noted in my budget that our gas tax, we were actually looked to be paving or looking at stadium fix-ups and search and rescue parking lot.
Stadium fix-up, that's the main parking lot, and the search and rescue is obviously a different parking lot.
So I'm just wondering, we just kind of pulled that we just agreed to do that for the water filter building.
Yeah, but that's not all of it. That's like we get a certain amount of gas tax, you know, what stuff that we allow for now, this year, we're not doing, so we're just gonna allocate it and move it in other places.
Maxine, was the gas tax amount 260,000? Does that sound right to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like the stadium parking lot and the search and rescue parking lot would not qualify for gas tax money because it has to be a certain length.
Yeah, it seems like another addition to the annex. It just keeps on.
So to clarify, this parking lot, that would be accessed off Main Street?
Correct, so that'd be accessed from Main Street there, which would help to alleviate some of the short parking concerns from
The
hair
parking
shack
would
there.
would it butt Main Street? Like, would it come up and abut the sidewalk there that faces Main Street?
Yeah, so it'd be, there's numerous actually parking lots across Main Street that actually cross the current existing sidewalk that's not cut down, so it would remain the same as that right now. So actually, well, and noting that I guess the parking spaces in the front, 3 to 4 parking spaces entering the parking lot would need to be removed as well. So you do lose 3 more on Main Street.
But these,
Three, you do 3, so then around 22, we'll get into 25.
and would this be 25 parking spaces during the winter months?
That, from the conversation that we have with Public Works, it would be adequate for snow clearing, and that would be 25 parking spaces at worst.
Would this just be something that was temporary, or would we be?
Seemingly, I guess, yeah, it would seem to be a more of a potentially always there, and depending on how much we would like to expand in the future, potentially a paved lot with, a stairwell entering the arena. But obviously, given the cost of $10,000 to $15,000, we want to make sure that it's, somewhat permanent in the area.
And did Dave suggest that he would be done internally and he would absorb in his budget, or is he expecting rec? Do you know?
I'm not sure what we spoke about. I believe it was.
We didn't discuss any budgets, but yes, it would be done internally.
Okay, they would be doing the work. Okay,
So it was coming from the public works budget? That
that's
what we're saying?
sort of maybe where my mind was going with it. But
Just ask David if it could be done, how much it would cost, and that's a conversation. We didn't discuss any budgets.
I
Councillor
guess
Fitch.
my only,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I just want to comment. I guess my only concern, I would love to see the revitalization of Main Street for like an active commercial economic kind of recovery. And I just feel like a parking lot that's taking up a space on Main Street that could be held by a business or some
No,
sort
certainly.
of.
No, sorry to cut you off there.
Yeah,
but-
so, I guess that's
yeah,
my
so
only
I think
concern with that.
ideally the area that it would be located is where the old Rockwood building was, which we certainly don't have plans of selling anytime soon. The land that we just acquired and hope to use for future development outside of a parking lot. So right now, I guess it will be held in limbo. Either we leave it as a dirt hill right now, or develop it into a parking lot. But there are potentials that we can see as a parking lot as well. But certainly revitalize Main Street, this could potentially, I'm throwing it out there now, look for like the Hump Day markets last year, could, stuff like that could be used potentially in this area as well. So I certainly think there is more alternatives, and I agree, I don't like seeing just a parking lot in the area. But I certainly don't think that's something we're looking to sell at this time.
I guess my question, at some point you're going to make something more than a parking lot. Obviously, this is to alleviate some of the building back to, there's no confirmation on when the annex will open, when that all works itself out. But I guess, Councillor Fitzgerald, you could probably best answer this question. Structurally, if we were to put fill in there and add Class A above it, I guess is what the request would be. I'm assuming there's no blast rock or there's no armor stone would have to be for a parking lot, would it?
I don't think so. It's just, there may
Backfill.
be, I'm not too sure what they require for leveling the actual parking lot, if a blast rock would be required to level first.
But
I'm
and the
not too
reason
sure.
I pose this question is back to the Deputy Mayor's point is if the town is to sell that piece of property, which is we've acquired, and back to a real estate point, when you sell a piece that's developed level, you're going to get your value back in your sale.
yeah,
Am I correct in saying? Like, I would think so.
I can't see us selling that parcel of land, knowing with the annex coming on board, we've talked about, if we were building a town hall, if we ever created the traffic circle up there to create like Main Street as a swoop a little ways up. I think we need the land, for all the things.
Exactly, but just keeping it alone. So I walked into one of your meetings. Remember I was talking about the slope? So when you get the runoff come the spring, and then I was assured that there's catch basins and whatnot. But if you don't level that off to some degree right now, are you creating more issues? Do you know what I mean? You can't just leave it as is. For any development, whether it's the town developing or whoever, somebody's going to have to level that property, right?
yeah. That's sort of what I was thinking after as well. That I don't, especially where it's going to be done internally, you're probably shaving off just a huge
Half.
amount of the cost, and you would be developing the land further than what it is. And as long as it were reasonable in terms of compaction and was safe and blah blah blah, then I don't necessarily think it would be a waste as long as it can be found in the budget. I'm okay with it.
Mm.
I too, though, am for the revitalization of Main Street. I think it's incredibly important as we approach the future. But
No, for sure. And also just, we've been having some conversations surrounding senior hockey, and it looks like we're hoping for a return to senior hockey this year, which obviously will large amount of spectators and whatnot in the area. So we certainly hope to be able to utilize that back door portion of our arena as well as much as possible, and this would certainly help in assisting that.
And I am right in saying that we do actually have fill on site already that came out of that area, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Is that still available, Glenn? Because I know we spoke about that for another.
Public Works building, I can't say if that's suitable to do in that area.
Mm-hmm.
Check with the Public Works superintendent.
Yeah, gotcha. Because I know we spoke about that in our sliding hill as well, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I believe there's a large amount there, correct? Yeah.
Okay, so what's your wishes, folks?
I'd like to have a more detailed
Yeah.
cost, you know, what we're gonna do, because if you drive by and you're gonna fill in that land, you're gonna need to fill going back there.
Yeah, and sorry,
I'm worried
just
with the bank, and then if you're gonna keep on the slope, you know, in the wintertime, there's gonna be a lot of, we create more panels for parking, people trying to leave a upgrade area.
The way the Public Works superintendent had it designed, the way he spoke to me about it, was one main road down the center, and then parking off to the side, on either side of it. And I was hoping he was gonna be here tonight, that way he could discuss.
Yeah.
Well, I like the more detail, and obviously where we get the money.
And I believe the large cost discrepancy there between 10 and 15,000 is because the area wasn't complete at the time, which it is now. But when we wrote these minutes, it was still in limbo about the work that would be done. So we can certainly get a much more detailed, updated cost on that as well.
Yeah, I like to,
We've had people park in that area when it was a grassed area, like they would pull down in by Bell, you'd come across.
Yeah, it's
like,
always
oh,
been, and we spoke about creating almost a U-shaped drop-off as well, which we're hoping that that could still be an option as well.
Right.
But obviously that doesn't help for parking, but it certainly helps for drop-off and stuff in the area.
Right.
But that's not ready right now, and we'll ensure council's aware of that for that decision when it's ready.
And not to divulge into operations too much or design from, people who work within each department, but would this include guide rails as well due to an elevation? No?
No, this year it would just be a flat area. I spoke to David about that, so I asked him what he would do for snow clearing. He said I would build a bank actually all the way around the snow clearing, just leaving one small section open in the corner, just in case it was runoff or whatever, so it would actually escape. And he would actually slope the bottom section so you'd have a walking path from the parking lot down to the main street entrance of the recreation center.
$10,000.
So that you wouldn't need stairs. It would just be a slope.
Mostly, it got to be mostly stone if it's being done internally.
well, like I said, I
Must
like
be
getting it
stone.
with Counselor Jones, so I think I'd like to see further information plus the actual showing of a sketch of the design. My biggest thing is like when you're talking about Class A and you're talking about plowing it and stuff, we know we're removing that material every time we go to do it. And our freeze-thaw cycle, it's,
Okay, in the interest of time, what's the date today, folks? October 11th, right?
11th, all day.
Can we agree on like principle that we agree we should create the extra parking and then provide some sort of, what kind of concept you would want there? Like, are we in agreement to that at least?
I guess my thing
We
would
are.
be, is it a permanent thing or a temporary thing when you're talking $10,000 to $15,000? That's a lot of money.
I think temporary until an annex is done, cause if we create more of a community space up there with, finalized parking, cause once we can get down and see how much parking we got below, then once you come up the hill, there might be a way to create like a sitting area and garbage cans, like a beautification of an entrance to the Hodder from Main Street. Like it can be really nice.
I think that was, the first question I asked is this temporary? And then I sort of was thinking as everyone was talking, and I sort of got to the point where even the parking may be temporary, but the land upgrade would be permanent.
Yeah, and that's what I was about to say, and to Deputy Mayor Young's point as well, and Councillor Freak, obviously the $10,000-15,000, I don't think would go to waste, whether it's used right now for parking and in the future for a green space kind of development there, or a more formal parking area, or whatever we desire, I don't think the entire development of it there is gonna go to waste, because if we decide not to do it, we're just pretty much at unusable sloped land, which sure, you could make a grassy hill that slides into the back door of the arena, but it's, I don't think it's going to waste for sure. I'd like to see the parking temporary, to be honest. with further development beyond that, but we can certainly provide further
But
detail.
we gotta go, you know, you gotta go wants and needs too, like, how many times are we use this parking lot in the winter?
Well, I was
Are we
gonna s-
10 times? So is
Well,
it
no.
25,000 for 10 times worth it?
Senior hockey, but I know that I seen 2 parties down there last weekend.
I think the major issue right now is the reduction in our parking lot tempo.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
And we hope some of that's gonna be fixed, right,
Yes,
soon,
we're getting
but,
requests from the user groups right now. If you pull into that parking lot, just choose Saturday, pull over on Saturday at 9 o'clock in the morning, and they're up on the church, they're up on Main Street. 25 more spaces, that's a big help. The back of our building, all of our town equipment is in the back of the building. We haven't got things out front. Staff come in on Saturday, if they come in and they leave, they haven't got a spot to park. They gotta park on Main Street to walk back down to the building. Like, there's just no parking space left. And it's all because of the construction of the building.
yeah.
So right now, yes, I can see it temporary. I can also see it maybe being developed later as just a flat green space on top that, like Councillor Fitzgerald has said before, we have no green spaces in here, right? We don't. This could be just a park area, people can stop and have their lunch. But we've got Sandy Keynes who's already spoke to Councillor Freak about losing 2 parking spaces. There's the 2 parking spaces back. They're very close to school.
I think once we kind of get down the road with the annex, but I know that there's the party room that was being used. These people couldn't get in last weekend. Glenn, I might say that there was probably 5 or 6 vehicles pulled in up top. Ned and Pop dropped off pizza, somebody else came with balloons, and they were using that.
No, yeah, like I said, it's not currently on here, but we hope by next public meeting, we will have some type of better solution for the drop-off area, which doesn't help for parking, but a more of a mainstream drop-off area. But in terms of parking for the main, I know a lot of user groups have reached out and inquired. They have concerns there. You know, this is short-term pain for long-term gain here. Like, you know, I've been to a lot of arenas around this province, and even with our current parking situation, it's far better than some other ones. You know, Grand Falls, Windsor, for example, their parking is not very good. Numerous other arenas. You know, and also, as I say, never compare your actions to someone else to deem yours acceptable, but I don't think we're in too bad shape here now, but I think it could certainly, could be needed and would be used well. But we can make an amendment to this as well and just kind of approve in principle and make an amendment right now for approval and go from there.
No, it's a great idea, so we'll move, we'll put in a friendly amendment.
So the
Friendly amendment will state, if you don't mind, Councillor Lang, then I'll go ahead with it.
Yep, sure, Mayor.
It would state that approve in principle with costs, further cost, evidence and design. Are you okay with that,
And this is
Councillor?
coming from where? I'm asking.
From Public Works.
And
And it's temporary.
What's that?
And the parking lot at this point is temporary.
Yes.
this is in the Public Works budget.
Well, we'll leave that with Maxine. After many of her years, I tell you, she could probably find whichever budget. I'm just going to say.
Yeah, I know, I'm just asking the question, because we are the part-timer for our Public Works, and he'd have in his budget, need money there to hire somebody,
Yeah.
and we had to go find it somewhere else, so. If you
Yeah.
couldn't find money to hire labor, well, we're coming up with $15,000 now for a parking lot that he says he got, but he never had for something else.
It's 100% fair question, and I would be willing to bet that's why you've sat around this table the longest, looking out for the buck, and I'm all over it. And
No,
it's
just, like I said, just give us the
very
details.
fair,
on it.
very, very
Thank you,
fair
Kerry, for
question.
your years of service.
Councillor Fitzgerald, any other comment to,
Maxine, I'll go with you, but.
are you good?
To item number 1?
Yeah. You good?
For item number 1, yeah, I'm fine. It's just, I would just say that this is time
Yes.
sensitive.
Yes, of
Yeah.
course.
Based on the time of year,
Yeah.
I would suggest the information come as fast as you possibly can.
Can you have a
Yeah.
can you have a conversation with Dave tomorrow to see, like,
I'm in PE item, or I'm sorry.
come on, bud, you got a few spare minutes in an airport?
Okay.
All right,
And I
we're all
guess-
good?
I guess that's again, number 5, where's the money coming for,
Yeah.
for Main Street?
Is this for all the lights?
No, so this is just for
Few that are out.
a few of the lights that are out to ensure, I believe there's maybe, half a dozen trees that are out? 25 trees that are out. No,
Are you asking the same question I'm asking, where the money come from?
there's not 25 trees on Main Street.
There has to be better lights. Come on, man, I get it.
Then, actually, it's 39 when we did the others on from Danny's. So yes, no, there's well over, but there's 25 trees. I had the electrician up there checking.
Okay, and do we have a, sorry, do we have an expected cost on that? My apologies, I should know that before this came here, but,
No, he's getting a count, because some trees might only have 3 sets, other trees have 9. So he's getting me a count of how many sets of lights, so I can find out.
right, sorry, I misinterpreted how many lights were gone there.
Well, it says here that you're looking for options, but it says here these lights will not be color changing.
No, so meaning
They'll be Christmas colors.
there'll be Christmas colors, so that seemed to be a lot of the issue there, is that the trees were changing.
Purchasing the LED lights was a problem. We all remember how much they were when we initially bought them. They're very expensive, and replacing them was very hard. Whereas locally, we could pick up multicolor lights. It's just that you wouldn't be able to change them if you wanted them changed for certain things.
I guess my question comes with the lights, that we all know that we leave up our own Christmas lights at our house, that they're all the same standard, that they're all going to stop working if they're left out in the open and all the elements. I don't know if there's an appetite to place these lights up at the Christmas season and remove them afterwards.
Our
I'm not
problem was, all the snow that goes on the tracks, and we need a boom truck to take them down. So in order to get the boom truck in tight, we had to actually clear the snow to get in tight to the tree removal lights. So that
Yeah.
was the problem.
And I think Councillor Fitzgerald answered that I think we brought up in the last meeting or the meeting before, we were looking at solutions for a more long-term fixed lighting solution for Main Street, which obviously was not budgeted for this year, and we just want to ensure that there is some type of Christmas light options on Main Street for this year. We know how much the residents enjoyed it. So I think that's most where that's coming from. And then next year we'll work on a much better solution that's more professional looking and permanent.
Good stuff. It is, that those lights have been quite the discussion of topic in the last council, from where we designed them to all of a sudden, wow, we can switch them and we can celebrate different days, but the bridge project is working out well. We did that in-house, so look
Yeah,
forward
those
to
ones
seeing where
are-
this goes. Any more questions? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. Alrighty, we shall move on to Health and Wellness Report. Very first one, Deputy Mayor Young, please.
So the Health and Wellness Committee, we offered a town hall, 2 town halls actually, one September 22nd, one September 27th, open to the public, really just to gauge their interest in terms of what their wants and wishes were in terms of the development of this committee and where they wanted to see the health and wellness of this community go. Some really great turnouts, some really great ideas were put forth from that. So with that, we use that to build the terms and references for the Town of Deer Lake, Health and Wellness Committee that you see before you here. So I would like to get this ball rolling and make a motion that we accept the terms and references of the Town of Deer Lake Health and Wellness Advisory Committee as presented here.
All right, so we have a mover. Call for a seconder. Moved by Deputy Mayor Young, seconded by Councillor Hancock. Call for a question. Councillor Langdon.
Sorry, just in terms of some of the like performing projects and program implementation, will that be, I suspect we'll see some overlap between rec and whatnot in terms of programs that we offer. I know we offer some that would certainly align with health and wellness, and how do we see going about that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think the overlap between recreation and physical activity and health and wellness, I mean, they'll always go hand in hand. I think, this is a new committee really, so it's really open to kind of any structure and any programming and kind of working with recreation in whatever way it kind of benefits both committees. We're really looking at more kind of engaging the community educational pieces, looking at promoting a lot of health and wellness activities that are already going on in the community, and really trying to kind of create a platform to amplify those initiatives kind of already going. So in that way, I do think it's a little bit different than what we do with recreation, but absolutely, I think we'll work together really to, through recreation, through this committee, to really promote the wellness of the people of Deer Lake.
Excellent, no, for sure, and like I said, I completely agree. I see a lot of other, through my other job, smaller communities utilize these grants that I know we utilize in a different manner, such as senior tech development and stuff like that. So, certainly it's great stuff for sure.
So we did get a grant for this?
What's that, sorry? What did you say, sorry?
Did we get a grant for this, sorry?
No,
Not
this
for
is
the
budget.
launch. Not for the launch. Yeah.
We
But-
had, there was budgeted, later,
I know it's budget, but I just heard him say grant, I didn't know.
Yeah.
yeah, no, and meeting with community partners, that was a big thing, that there's a bunch of areas that we can go for grants and whatnot, which is,
I think eye-opener
Positive
too,
stuff.
like being in that meeting and sitting with people like Suzanne Legg and knowing the different partners that we're just not taking advantage of. Like it was a complete disconnect of what Western Health can do for, the town of Deer Lake.
and what the town can do for Western.
And absolutely, that's what I mean. I was shocked actually to sit there and see how big of a disconnect there actually was. And I think it's well outside of recreation. It was mental health and wellness and bringing community together and touching the seniors. And yeah, it was a really good lunch. I thought you done a great job. Yeah.
No, it's invigorating to sit around, especially when you get all different, the first session there was different ages and different professions, and the second one was different. And again, hats off to chair and co-chair for taking this on. This is a brand new committee that's never existed, and I look forward to seeing where it goes. Are there any more questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor to accept? Carried, thank you. Last on the agenda, you'll see the Deer Lake Emergency Plan. So just prior to Hurricane Fiona, which we're all aware of, and I ask that we all keep residents on the South Coast in our thoughts, and there's other things that we can do beyond that. I know there's a few things coming up through sports organizations within the community that are hoping to still raise some funds and whatnot, and I have had the opportunity to kind of just to speak with Mayor Button from the town of Port Basque briefly a couple times. He's inundated with calls and messages and everywhere else, but he just said he's really appreciative of all communities around the province that have been touching base with him, and we really got lucky. We sat down here that the committee sat here with staff and staff committee members and looked at our plan, and and we projected where we would be through that storm, and we came out quite on top compared to a lot of communities on the South Coast. But it also relates to the importance that we're not unique and it can happen here, right? So this will have, the reason this is brought forward is because we had to make some adoptions within the plan. There's, and I ask anybody, whether you're first, second, or third, to all council actually comes together once this plan's enacted. It's just that at first you go through your committee members, your planning committee members, and we'll all be part of it. I got some great learnings from the committee the weekend I had at Grand Falls, talking about their, when they went through the forest fire and their learnings and whatnot. So there is some amendments, and we need to adopt this new plan. And I'd ask that everybody, get a chance to read it. Usually the best time to read, they say, is prior to whichever, but you never know when you're going to be hit that you have to enact this plan. So I would like to do a tabletop at some point. I mean, I know everybody's schedules are busy. We've been here now on the public eye just for 2 hours, and then you guys have been here an hour prior. So respect everyone's time, but these are the most important things that can happen. And unfortunately, growing up, we all watched Hollywood stories or movies, and they're starting to become reality in our own little province here. So I will need someone to make a motion to accept and adopt this plan as presented. Moved by Councillor Freak, seconded by Councillor Langdon. Any discussion or questions?
I talked to a couple of coworkers today in the Port aux Basques area, and I'm just reading here the rest of what she's wrote this evening. This would be through Scotiabank. Insurance is not covering a lot of, what seems to be, they're just getting back into their homes now. They were able to take everything out, but homes look to now be condemned, so the insurance are just getting back to them, really, and those site visits. But again, speaks very highly of the Red Cross and how amazing they've been. So anybody who's still wanting to donate or reach out, they're matching the funds, so that's still the best place, I think, to help our friends on the South Coast.
Definitely, you can leverage your double fund, right? Good point. All right, any other comments?
Yeah, I'll say that as well, there, Mayor, just to commend everybody out there for their amazing job. I spent a couple days out there with our MHA right at as soon as it happened, and just the support out there was phenomenal. And just knowing that this is happening just 3 hours away from our community, and ensuring that we have such emergency plans to ensure that we're ready for a disaster, which unfortunately inevitably is going to become more frequent in our communities, which is certainly unfortunate. But like I said, it's a long road ahead for Port aux Basques as well. And as Councillor Freak said, donations are still being sent to the Red Cross, and they're doing a phenomenal job out there. So hats off to them.
No, definitely. And I mean, you got to see it firsthand. It's one thing for us to watch it on the news, but you're right in the midst of it. So thank you for that. And hats off to our staff for reaching out to their staff to offer services or equipment, just like we all work together through Snowmageddon. Obviously, this is something totally, completely different, but hats off to staff for that. And I just want to put a little shout out to residents. I don't want to get into names specifically, but I mean, it happened throughout all communities in the province, but we can all note there's some great groups in this community and people that stepped up so far just to see that people were getting a helping hand. So hats off to those people as well. With that, we got a mover, seconder, call for a question. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. You got me. I'm gone here. Sorry, I was just thinking of something else about this plan, but mover, seconder, motion carried. Just 1 second here before we call for adjournment. Maxine, is October 24th. That is a Monday. We're back on track.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. All right. So it is now our longest council meeting, I think, since we've all been here. So appreciate the staff for listening to us, and anyone online. Well, I'm sure your popcorn's ran out by now, but the call
We
for
still have 12 viewers watching.
do we? Okay. So
We've been consistent all night.
all right. I'll call for an adjournment. Moved by Councillor Freak. Meeting adjourned at 9:37. Thank you.